to the Chenango Forks Board of Education regular meeting, March 11th, 2021. Will the clerk please conduct roll call?
Amy O'Brien.
Here.
Spiros Tomatoes.
Here.
Mary Collins.
Here.
Michael Vavra.
Here.
And Lynn Lockwood.
Here.
We have a quorum. I call the meeting to order.
I, Erin McMullen, Board Clerk, have confirmed with Council that this meeting is being held in compliance with Executive Order 202.1, issued by Governor Andrew M. Cuomo on March 12, 2020. The Executive Order suspends Article 7 of the Public Officers Law to the extent necessary to permit any public body to meet and take any action authorized by law without permitting in public, in-person access to meetings, and authorizing such meetings to be held remotely by conference call or similar service. This meeting is being held remotely via Zoom virtual meeting software. The public has the ability to view or listen to this meeting live via the Zoom app, web browser, and/or by telephone. This meeting is being recorded and will be transcribed at a later date.
Please stand for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. 1.3, public comment.
The public wishing to speak to the Board of Education will be allowed this period of time to do so under the following guidelines. Speakers will be limited to a maximum of 3 minutes and the entire public comment session to a maximum of 30 minutes. Speakers are requested to raise their hand and state their name when chosen to speak. They will be called on in order, with everyone having one chance to speak. Speakers will not be allowed to personally attack any board member, administrator, or any of the public present. Also, no comments by the speakers will be permitted that deal with executive session subjects, such as individual personnel matters, discipline issues pertaining to specific individuals, including students, and speakers will not be allowed to read letters.
Amelia, go ahead.
Hi, Erin. It's Christine Webb. I'm sorry, it's still on Amelia.
Okay.
I have a quick question. I know you guys have a really rigorous agenda today, so I don't want to take up too much of your time, but we had a special meeting last week, or the last time, so I didn't want to bring this up, but on February 10th meeting, the regular board meeting, there was an addition added, 3.5, an intermunicipal agreement, and you guys, which was signed and approved in section 5.3 to go on with an MOU with the Capital Region BOCES for legal representation and the appeal to the Commissioner of Education in the matter of D'Amatos, which appeal number 21503. Sadly, I was unable to go to that meeting, and I had to, because on the board page, it said the meeting was on February 11th, so I missed the meeting on February 10th. But I did look through the minutes, and I didn't see anything specifically on the rationale for the MOU and hiring of the attorney. So as a taxpayer, I have several questions regarding the appeal to the Commissioner number 21503 to the appeal, and the following are my questions. Number one, what is the nature of the appeal? Number two, who is the petitioner of the appeal? Three, who is named in the appeal? And four, how much is this appeal going to cost the taxpayers in money? So with these four questions, I'm hoping maybe Spiros could answer, or maybe Dr. Peck, but with regard to those four questions, I may have a follow-up. Thank you.
Yeah, Mrs. O'Brien, I'm going to defer to you because that has nothing to do with the superintendent. So I am not going to even try to answer that question.
Okay. Well, Christine, I would honestly have to ask legal counsel, because I don't know, when it comes to legal matters, what we can and can't disclose to the public. we will be seeing council later in our executive session, and I could ask then and then follow up with a response.
Was all of this voted on in executive session, Ms. O'Brien?
Are you talking about the approval of council? That was voted on in open session.
Open session?
Yes.
Can I quickly ask, is this a foilable document that we can find out with regard to the petition to the commissioner number 21503?
That's an excellent question. I don't know the answer to. Is Nate with us? Nathan Van Wy, are you here? He may not
He's an
be.
executive, Amy. I don't think he's in open.
Okay.
I can get him on if you want him on. I can call him real quick.
Yeah, I mean, well, let's think about it.
He's on. I see him on.
Was he on?
is? Okay.
Yeah.
Need to put him on the spot. But yeah, I want to do things appropriately. Nate, are you with us?
Can anyone hear me?
Yes, thank you. Now, did you hear the questions from Mrs. Webb?
I did, and in regards to whether it's foilable or not, I would suggest submitting a foil, and then we would respond to it. Off the top of my head, I don't know how much or to what extent we would actually provide documents regarding the foil request. I need some time to actually look at it and consider before actually providing. But I mean, no harm in actually submitting a foil and then having the district go through the process.
Nathan, sir, can I ask a question? I already foiled the document and have already received the document in total. And I'm just curious, am I allowed to share that document publicly, since I have went through procedure and foiled it through the state education department or the commissioner of education?
If you foiled it from state ed and state ed has provided you documents, that's between you and state ed, I think, as to how far you then disclose it.
Okay. So, sir, the nature of the petition as a taxpayer, again, I know my 2 minutes and 3 minutes are probably up, but the nature of the petition has real big impact on finance regarding the taxpayers as well as the people who represent us. So I don't understand how we can't know this information.
I am sorry, that is the 3 minutes for those questions. Does anybody else have any questions? I don't see any other hands up.
Okay. This concludes public comment. All right, 2.1, preliminary 2021-2022 budget presentation.
All right, good evening, everyone. Welcome to the 2021 initial budget presentation. Next slide, Aaron. Tonight, we're going to talk about our budget goals, our projected expenditures, and projected revenue. Next. Our budget goals are to create a sustainable budget within the parameters imposed by the state with a responsible tax levy, maintaining quality instruction and programs for our students, and long-term planning and use of reserves. Next. Projected expenditures. We'll start off with instructional salaries. There is an increase of $176,214. We have a reduction in non-instructional salaries of $104,000, a reduction in equipment of $40,300, a reduction in contractual expenditures of $120,000, a reduction in materials and supplies of $83,420, an increase in our BOCES line of $372,776, a reduction in our debt service of $58,757. Next. An increase in our ERS, which is state retirement for our non-instructional personnel of $28,484. An increase in our teachers' retirement contribution of $47,045. An increase in Social Security of $9,186. An increase in our workers' comp of $9,471. Life insurance and unemployment insurance will remain flat. An increase in our health and dental insurance of $661,524. And our other benefits and transfers lines will remain flat for a total budget of $35,254,318. And that is an increase over last year's budget, or excuse me, this year's budget of $898,000.79. Next, our projected revenues. The tax levy is increasing at $176,347, which is 1.43%, and that is our tax limit. State aid is projected based on the governor's initial budget presentation in January of $307,914. Our other revenue is projected increase of $101,927. An appropriated fund balance will remain flat, and the use of our appropriated reserves, specifically unemployment reserve and our ERS reserve, increasing the use of $28,484 for a total revenue budget of $34,970,911, and a increase over last year's, excuse me, again, this year's budget of $614,672. Next page. So this chart is a year-to-year expenditure comparison as a percentage of our budget. So as you can see, salaries and benefits for the last 5 years
You're not muted.
are 61% of our budget. And they don't typically go down. As you can see, there's pretty much an increase just about every year. Next page. And this is a year-to-year revenue comparison as a percentage of our budget. And as you can see, the majority of our budget is tax levy and state aid. That's where the majority of our revenue comes. So we are heavily dependent on state aid. As you can see, just about 60% of our revenue comes from state aid. Next page. This is a graph that's going to show you the salary and benefits increases versus the increases in taxes and foundation aid. Now, foundation aid is part of state aid, but that is the only part of state aid that is that can raise based on what the governor and the legislature negotiates every year. So that's always subject to the negotiation. The rest of the state aid is expense-driven aid. So that's basically aid that you get the following year based on the expenses that you incurred in the previous year. And that's your BOCES aid, your transportation aid, your textbook aid, and so on and so forth. So as you can see, salaries and benefits in the last 3 years have gone up anywhere between 2.5% to 4%. And in 21-22, it's 4%. The tax levy, we're limited by what our tax limit is. So, and it's usually no more than 2%. And this year it's at 1.47%. And foundation aid for this year is remaining flat for the second consecutive year. So as you can see, foundation aid and the tax levy are basically in the past have gone up roughly, no more than 2%, while our salaries and benefits are increasing at 4%. That is a model that's not really sustainable in the long run. Next page. This is our tax levy limit, and this is the calculation of how we come up to that 1.47 increase. Next page. So where are we now? With our budget of $35,254,318 and all the revenue, we have a gap currently of $283,407. Again, this is our initial draft, so we have some work to do. Next page. Some of the key items in this year's budget. School aid numbers are not final. We have to wait till the budget gets passed supposedly by April 1st. That has to happen. Have not heard anything, any rumblings yet as to which way things are going. The governor's proposal, again, includes a proposal to collapse all those expense aids into services aids. And basically, he wants to eliminate the idea that it'll be expense aids and it'll be part of foundation aid, and it will not be driven by expenses. So that means that those will be, basically the increases will be negotiated every year as part of foundation aid. So if you spend more in transportation or BOCES, then in the next year, then your aid will not increase based on that increased expense because it's no longer an expense-driven aid. He's tried to do that for the last two budget go-arounds, and each time it has not passed. The legislature has voted it down. Foundation aid, again, is remaining flat for the second consecutive year. And in order for it to do that, the governor had cut back foundation aid. Last year, he did a pandemic adjustment where he reduced state foundation aid. This year, he's doing it again, and he's calling it a local district funding adjustment, just like the pandemic adjustment, just like the GEA, the gap elimination adjustment in prior years. And that adjustment is $1,270,166 for Chenango Forks. So he cut foundation aid $1.2 million for Forks, but he's using the federal stimulus money that was just passed in January to make up that $1.27 million, so the foundation aid could remain flat. The issue comes next year when what happens when there is no stimulus money, and will the state make up these that adjustment, or will it be made up over many years like they did in the GEA? That remains to be seen. Next page. The TRS will have an increase. TRS and ERS are, again, those are the retirement contributions that the district has to make. And because the economy is in the shape it is, we fully expected that these would be increased. BOCES costs have increased 7.16%. And this is mainly as a result of increases in special ed, CTE, and summer school projections. Right now, we are projecting a 10.5% increase in health insurance through the Health Insurance Consortium. And out of the $898,000 increase in our expense budget, $661,000 is attributed to the health and dental, and $327,000 to BOCES services, which actually makes up more than our increase. So and looking at all the rest of the lines, 64% of the district's budget line items are being held to no increase or reduction. So we worked really hard on this first initial go around to trim as much as we could, because we knew that we were going to have these other expenses, and we knew that the revenue was not going to be what we would like to see it. Next slide. So our next steps is we've got to continue to identify areas for reductions. We have to identify additional revenue sources, and we will monitor the legislative budget for the final school aid numbers. Next. Well, any questions? Okay, I guess that's it.
Thank you, Mark. Superintendent's report.
Sorry. Okay, Ms. O'Brien, I have several things under my report, some presentations and some recognitions. Let's start first with Mandy Black, who is going to give a Costa Rica trip presentation of the trip they took last, is it last year now, right, Mandy?
Beginning of this year, yep. Started in December and went into January. All right, I'm going to make it pretty quickly, give a quick recap of what we did. So on December 26th, a group of 9 students from Chenango Forks and 3 adults left Chenango Forks for Costa Rica. This trip happened after nearly 3 years of preparation, including fundraising and a year-long Costa Rica class. Sadly, we had several students who originally planned to go with us that were unable to attend due to the COVID related issues, but those of us that were able to go could not be more thankful. Many of the people who we met along the way said that our group was a symbol of hope. We were the first student group to take part in most of the activities that we did in more than 9 months in a country that relies very heavy on tourism for the livelihoods of its people. I was complimented repeatedly on how respectful and knowledgeable our students were, and our guide, who has been leading groups of tourists for over 20 years, was very impressed with our students, as was I. Our goal in creating and building the Costa Rica course has always been to help students to take part in the course, to be well-educated, responsible travelers who come back and share their knowledge and experiences that they've gained with the community. Thanks to the support of Dr. Peck and the Board of Education and our community as a whole, we have been able to meet that goal this year, despite the challenges that we faced, and I couldn't be more thankful for that. I'm hopeful that Chenango Forks can continue this opportunity for its students for many years to come. I'd like to ask for Nora Coppola, one of our students who traveled, to quickly tell you about her experience with the trip, if Erin can let her in, and then we'll show you a quick video.
Hi, I'm Nora. I'm the president of Costa Rica Club. I just wanted to let everyone know how this trip impacted me and the others that went on the trip. So I believe that this was one of the best experiences I have personally had, and many others have said the same. Because we went, we got to practice our speaking skills in Spanish with natives for the first time for many of us. We got to learn about the tourism business and ecology, which really interested some of us and changed our future plans. For example, I would really like to go live there temporarily because of what I learned, and I'd really like to impact Costa Rica in a positive way. I also brought back many different food and clothing items, which I've shown my family, and they've actually gone and ordered some from the businesses that we visited in Costa Rica, the small businesses. So not only are we impacting the community here, we're also impacting Costa Rica as a whole. I'd also like to mention that the COVID restrictions there were extremely safe. So if this were to happen to us again, I'm pretty sure we would be completely safe. The people that we got to meet there were very, very, very accepting of us, and they did speak English as well as allowing us to practice Spanish. We were able to learn a new culture, which I feel like in the small area of Chenango Forks, we're a very close, tight-knit culture or a group of people, and we don't have much exposure to many other different groups like Spanish-speaking groups. And because we went to Costa Rica, many of us for the first time traveled out of the country and experienced a new culture. And the last thing I'd like to mention is that because of all of our efforts for fundraising, it brought us closer together, not only with Miss Black, but with each other as a community. I feel like we've developed more of a friendship and we're able to talk with each other more in Spanish.
Thank you, Nora. Really appreciate that. Let's see if I can real quickly pull up for you guys a video that we have that was made by Georgia Novitsky. Let's see, bear with me just 1 second. I should have had that completely ready to go. Give me one quick second. Oh, wrong year. Ah, 1 second, almost there. And this video has lots of pictures so that you can kind of get a feel of the experience that the kids had while we were in Costa Rica. All right. All right, so thank you very much for listening and again for everyone's support for our trip to Costa Rica.
Thank you, Andy.
Thank you. That was nice.
Next up, we have a prom update, and I don't know, is Jason Motel in the audience? Can you raise your hand if you are? Okay, I don't think he is. Mr. Daniels, can you do the prom update, please?
Yeah, no problem. We started a discussion about this about a month ago or so, maybe a little more than that. Now we recognize that currently we probably could only have about 150 students at a prom. Feeling the best thing to do to plan a prom this year would be to do something with much of an outdoor facility as possible. So we went down to the Jenny Ganslet Golf Club there. They have an outdoor tent type facility that hopefully, if the weather's nice, we can open up the wings of the tent and have kind of a little bit of an outdoor indoor type prom for the students. Typically at a prom, the students have about an hour and a half of dancing time. So we're actually looking at 2 proms in the same evening, doing an 8:30 to 10 o'clock for the juniors, and then 10:30 to 12 o'clock for the seniors. Separate crownings for each, leaving us a half hour between the junior prom and the senior prom for go back and disinfect and clean whatever surfaces we need to keep everything as sanitized as possible for the students. Now with 150 students or so, we anticipate that we will have some underclassmen, potentially juniors or dating sophomores, perhaps or seniors with sophomores, to be able to accommodate both groups. Students will be able to select one option though. They won't be able to go to both. There'll be one option. If you're a junior, you have that option of just one, seniors, that option of just one. Our plan right now is to limit it to only CF students. I surveyed my colleagues, the principals in the area, and right now that seems to be where the principals have responded. That's a consensus that they're going to limit to only students in their own schools. It helps us with the contact tracing and the rest of the issues that go with intermingling students from several different districts. No alumni as well as a part of the plan as well. We want to make sure people understand that. That's pretty much where we are as far as the prom goes. It'll be a while before we do any additional signups or anything like that, but at least though we'll have a junior prom with a crowning, a senior prom for the crowning, so both grade levels will have the opportunity to have proms that they might not have had otherwise. So that's kind of what I have for you, sir.
Okay. All right. Any board members have any questions on that?
Just to clarify, so if you have, I don't know if it's an issue. I just know, I'm thinking back when I was in high school, my wife went to a different school. We went to 3 different proms together. I hate to keep, a couple because they live in different districts from going to the prom, if this might be their only prom, since we didn't have one last year.
Well, Spiro, I understand that. Frankly, I'm surprised it was only 3 proms for you.
Well, I've chaperoned about 20 of them, but we did go, as a couple, we went to 3.
Well, right now that seems to be the consensus of the local principals.
All right.
It's possible though that, if a student is dating a student from another district, other districts may open it up. And again, right now, the primary reason for that is the limit of 150 kids.
Sure.
In the event that we are able to go beyond that 150 students, then more than likely we may do just one prom and open up to many, but to other districts as well. But for right now, I think we have to plan on the side of safety and have contingency plans ready when necessary.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Daniels.
Certainly.
Next, we're going to do building celebrations. Gladly, we have a lot of those. The ones I'm going to do first, and I'm not going to read them all, but attached to the board docs, and I believe the board has read it, is I compiled emails that myself, Mr. Rulo, Mrs. Kazavinsky, and Mr. Daniels received from parents. And I actually took names out. So teachers, grades, buildings have all been taken out. And I actually attached those to the PDF. I attached the PDF to the board minutes. So many times the board gets negative emails and you don't see all the positive emails we get in the 3 buildings in the district office. So I think there's 8 or 9 emails there. And again, we took out all the information that's identifying. We want to point anyone out, obviously, but if the board can read those, and I think they probably already read them, those are the start of our celebrations tonight. Then we're going to recognize some staff and some students and some buildings for their accomplishments. So the first one, I'm going to turn over to Trish Kula, Director of Special Ed, for the first recognition.
Great, thank you for your time today. And first good news we got today from New York State Ed was our special education department last year was required to survey all of our students' families to just get a feel for how we're doing as a department. And we got the results back. So first, thanks to all our families for filling out all those surveys for us last year. And we ended up with over 97% positive rating. So that just is a huge thank you to our special education staff, related service providers, school psychologists, everybody who goes into that. We also wanted to take some time tonight to highlight one of our teachers, Kayla Pokerak, who is our 7th grade direct consultant and special class teacher. Drew and I can both tell you, Kayla is just a #1 on our list. She goes above and beyond. So New York State reached out for some suggestions for teachers to join a new grant committee that they have. It's called eTeach New York. It's going to be teachers from all around the state, special educators, because we've found, you know, especially during this closure, that students with disabilities really struggle with remote learning. So they were reaching out for, you know, teachers who have done a great job with that. And we recommended Kayla, and Kayla was chosen. So, you know, hundreds of applications for that. So we really commend Kayla on being chosen. She will be working with other teachers around the state to get materials together, videos, you know, strategies for kids with remote learning and kids with disabilities. So Drew and I just really want to thank Kayla for her tireless work. Congratulations, Kayla.
Congratulations. Thank you, Ms. Cool. Next, student recognition. Let's start with the Broome County Arts Council, Broome High School Emerging Arts Competition. I believe Lindsay Duell and Keith Roscoe are both on. 2 high school art teachers. Lindsay and Keith, please take over.
Hey, everybody. Thanks for giving us a chance to recognize our kids. I just want to mention a little bit about the show, and then I'll let Lindsay read off the name of the kids. But we used to have what we called the Congressional Art Competition, which was all the school districts that were in our congressional district here. Chenango Forks was one of 3. That's since been replaced with what's called the Emerging Artists Competition now, that's run by the Broome County Arts Council. And really, I think what a lot of people don't realize is that the greater Binghamton area in Broome County has an amazing history of producing tremendous people who've gone on to make amazing contributions in the arts nationwide. It's kind of like an arts incubator, going all the way back to the early 1900s and Mark Twain and, oh gosh, his name escapes me, the guy that did the Little Rascals. But we've got quite a sterling reputation. And I think this show is better now because our students, they're not just seeing artwork. There's next to kids from CV and a couple other schools, Whitney Point. Now they're getting to see their artwork in a gallery setting, on walls, professional walls, next to artwork from students all over Broome County. And they can really see the high level of quality that the arts programs around here produce. And I think more importantly, our kids actually get to see their amazing artwork in the context of other students' amazing artwork and really appreciate just how amazing they are. We do have a tremendous talent pool of students here at Chenango Forks. So it was very gratifying for them to get that opportunity this year and to be able to go down and see their work on display. Lindsay, do you have anything to add?
Yes, I would like to give a huge shout out to Maggie Gilroy, because I feel like she has been absolutely amazing on whenever we send her artwork. She is so quick to get it out on our social media sites, on Instagram, on Facebook, on our Chenango Forks webpage. So huge kudos to her because she's really been amazing. The students that work was nominated was Riley Donovan, Leah Bauk, Julia Curson, Quinn Sergani, Olivia Berry, Mandy Fetterman, and Phoebe Humphreys. And all of their work right now is at the Artisan Gallery downtown, and it will be on display for the next month. So if you have an opportunity and you're downtown, it's actually next to the old loft, which is soon to be PS Restaurant, and it's right next door. And so yeah, if you're downtown, you should definitely check it out. It's really amazing to see our students' artwork on display like that. It was a huge accomplishment for them, and it was an honor for their work to be on display in a gallery. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys. I appreciate that. Next, we got Scopes New Year Tradition, January, excuse me, December, January 2021 writing contest. Mr. Rulo, I believe that's you.
Yeah, so we wanted to share with everybody our 6th grade student at our middle school, Caroline Nauer. She's a winner of the New Year Celebrations National Writing Contest through Scholastic Magazine. So she wrote this year about how people in Germany ring in the new year. So she won an award for her submission. So we're really proud of Caroline. And we announced her on the announcements the other day, and Maggie did a great job of putting that on social media as well. So she makes us proud at CFMS. So congratulations.
Thank you, Mr. Rulo, for that. Congratulations to Caroline. National Letter of Intent Signings. Dave Hogan, Coach Hogan, would you like to take that one for me, please?
Sure. Thank you. Thank you for the opportunity too. Might as well say it too. I'll give another shout out to Maggie Gilroy. She has been fantastic. She is all over this stuff. She's usually, she hears something sometimes even before I do, and she's already quick to put it out, but she is.
Hey, Dave, really quick, just let me explain to everyone who Maggie Gilroy is. She's our public information officer. She's in charge of our Facebook, all of our press, our website, everything that we do that goes out to the public is that Maggie's the one responsible for getting that out. So again, she is new to us. I think she's been there maybe 3 or 4 months, and she's absolutely fantastic. So I will second and third and fourth that. She has done it above and beyond. So just for people that didn't know who Maggie was.
And for people who might not know what a national letter of intent is, it's athletes, in our case, it's athletes signing with either a Division I or a Division II school to play a sport. We have 4 this year for a very small district. That's fantastic. We're very proud of that. Nathan Gabriel, and we've had celebrations for 3 of these 4 already. Nathan Gabriel signed with Robert Morris to play lacrosse. He also holds a GPA of over 90. He's been on the high honor roll or highest honor roll at all times. And I'm mentioning this for any youngsters that are out there. If you want to go on and have a scholarship in band or whatever, you need to be a good student as well. So that's why we always recognize them as student athletes. Nate is also was also active in soccer, wrestled and basketball as well. So he's very well rounded and does a lot of different things. Same thing with Ryan Locke. Ryan Locke signed with the College of St. Rose to play golf. Very good student, holds a GPA in the upper 80s. He's also played basketball as well. Grace Cadden has signed with the University of Massachusetts to play softball. She's also an outstanding student. She has a GPA of over 100. She's also the senior vice president. She's played volleyball, varsity volleyball since her 10th grade. And as a sophomore, we didn't play softball last year because of COVID. As a sophomore, she was 3rd team All-State in softball. She's an outstanding athlete and an outstanding student and outstanding person as well. The 4th one, Lucas Scott, we haven't had his celebration yet. We're going to wait for a couple months until it gets a little warmer to do it outside. He signed with the U.S. Military Academy at West Point, also known as Army. He has a GPA of over 95. He was 1st team New York State Player of the Year a year ago. He also was a New York State wrestling champion. So that's pretty much unheard of too. And just outstanding athlete, outstanding in academics as well. Congratulations, all 4 of those. And if I could, now that I still here, I'd like to give a shout out to our boys swim team also for winning the sectional championship. Brendan Samsel was 1st in diving as well as an individual. Brendan Heaney was also an individual champion in 100 breaststroke. And we had Jack Humphrey, Caleb McPeak, John Cadden, and Aiden Hopkins were 1st place in the 200 free. So congratulations, everyone, and thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you, Dave, and congratulations to all of our athletes, student athletes. And last is Mrs. Kazafinski with elementary recognition. Mrs. Kazafinski.
Hi, good evening. Thank you for the opportunity to present tonight. In a way for our school to continue to be united, we had a teacher, Mrs. Kuzak, come up with 2 ways for both our hybrid and remote students to participate in these decorations that we had. First was a gratitude tree in which everybody in the school created something that they were grateful for and wrote it on leaves. And then we had another bulletin board about what makes our students special and unique. And we're proud to say that everyone was able to participate in that. I'm so proud of the work that went into it. Sue Malays, our art teacher, made amazing background for us. It was really beautiful. And again, as everyone has already mentioned, Maggie was wonderful in getting this out on the web. And then she also submitted our gratitude tree to Senator Akshar, and we got recognized by Senator Akshar for our gratitude tree for his Thanksgiving celebration. So I'm super excited that we had this opportunity to continue to unite as a school, even in the current situation. So thank you to everyone that participated. And again, thank you for this opportunity tonight to share something special about our school. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Gazvinsky. And next, that brings us up to Mr. Rulo and Mr. Daniels are going to give the board a presentation on a plan to bring our students in the middle school, high school back 4 days a week. Mr. Rulo, Mr. Daniels.
Yep, just let's see here. All right, can everybody see the screen correctly? All right, perfect. Mr. Daniels and I appreciate the time and the opportunity just to present some information, in regards to increasing, our in-person student learning at, the middle school and the high school. So to start, we just wanted to provide some background data on the middle school and the high school. So this is just a middle school slide of our COVID case summary to date. Okay, so it's broken down per month. So those would be the, our number of positive cases, and then, that resulted in the number of students and staff that had to be quarantined there. So we did see, a couple cases per month, a little bit of a spike after the, the winter break there. And, we still continue to have a couple cases here and there. I just want to point out, prior to, the middle of December, when we had a positive case in the middle school or the high school, because our students changed classes, every classroom that student went into, the whole class was quarantined. Just, around the winter break afterwards, we then got, updated guidance where anywhere from 0 to just before 6 feet for 10 minutes or more, you're quarantined. And then, 6 feet to 12 feet, it has to be 45 minutes. And then over 12 feet, you're okay. But there still is, a lot of contact tracing there, with our students switching classes.
Yeah, when you look at the high school, you'll see similarly that September, October, November, fairly small number of cases. When you get to December and January, you see more cases in the high school, much larger numbers. February and March, the numbers have again begun to decrease, headed in a positive direction, but we still have to be very diligent in doing our contact tracing and make sure that everything's going well. So it's kind of where we are right now.
So our school reopening, guidance that we have to follow, this is a very similar slide, from the last board meeting, because we have to follow the same guidelines and procedures of, as CFE. So we just want to, remind people in the audience that there are CDC guidelines out there, but we have to follow, the New York State Department of Health guidelines, and NICEAD guidelines. And when those don't agree, the New York State Department of Health guidelines trump the CDC guidelines, okay? So those guidelines still talk about 6 feet. However, similar to, CFE presentation, barriers can be used when we cannot maintain 6 feet, okay? We're still district-wide requiring students to wear masks outside of mass breaks and lunchtime. So we will have to utilize barriers at both levels. In the middle school, I'll just speak to that, and then Mr. Daniels can talk about the high school. But we will have to obviously add more student desks to our classrooms. The desks right now are, at least 6 feet apart. With more desks, depending on the classroom and the number of students that need to be, in that room throughout the day, our desks will be about 3 to 5 feet apart. So the chart that you see here on the screen, these are like our worst case scenarios for the number of barriers that we need. Okay, I expect for the middle school, this number to come down. All right, but we wanted to just give you the top line amount here. So approximately, just under $20,000, but I think that will decrease.
Yeah, when you look at the high school, I also think those numbers are going to be able to come down. We are able to, in most of our classrooms, and you'll see one of the later slides about how many desks we can put in a classroom, how many students we can anticipate putting in a classroom, but we'll maintain the 6 feet of spacing. And the reason I think our numbers can go down is I'm not sure I'm going to need quite 10 rooms with 20 desks in each. I think I can do better than that, maybe fewer rooms, and therefore the price will go down. I'm thinking that we should be below the $5,000 range at the most, I think.
All right, so we just wanted to provide, some pictures to everybody for what a classroom looks like. So we did some pictures from a middle school classroom. So this is currently what one of our rooms looks like. It's 13 student desks. Those are 6 feet apart. There's over 6 feet of space between the desk and the front screen here for, our staff. And there's over 6 feet of space between the student desk and the teacher desk. Okay. We then took some barriers, and thank you to the staff that volunteered for this photo. But we took barriers. These are not the ones we were going to use. We got a class set of some flimsy barriers that were light and we could carry around. But this has 20 student desks in there with the barriers. These desks are 5 feet apart. Okay. That obviously is going to cut down on the distance between the student desks and the front screen. It's about 4 to 5 feet. The screen is viewable from that distance. And then there's less space, about 3 to 4 feet. Excuse me, and 4 to 5 feet between the teacher's desk. Now, some classrooms in the middle school will need more than 20 student desks. So that's going to cut down on that space, again, to about 3 to 4 feet. Okay. Just so you can see these better, this is a shield that was in the front of the classroom. This is a high end shield. We are not going with this model. We're going with something in the middle of the road, but this is what it would look like from the 3 to 4 feet from the screen. And then I sat in the back of the classroom just so you could kind of see what this might look like for a student, in the back row, looking to the front screen through, a few rows in front of him or her with shields up. Okay. So our current health and safety protocols and precautions that are in place, again, 6 to 12 feet of social distancing, 12 feet is utilized, in PE, band and chorus. We all wear masks at all times, except for our mask breaks and during lunch. Students and staff sanitize, hand wash frequently. We have directional hallway markers and stairwells in our buildings. We currently do temperature checks for students before they enter, and our biweekly student affidavit. Our staff fills out a daily affidavit. Our staff does a great job of cleaning in between periods because of the small class sizes, and our maintenance staff does a great job of cleaning the building at night. So some changes that will occur, okay, moving to 4 days of in-person instruction. We've already talked about the use of barriers in our spaces. The cleaning of surfaces and barriers between periods is going to be very difficult. All right, that's going to be more of a spot cleaning or cleaning when necessary. And these surfaces, will get cleaned each night. Okay. We are also, with CFE starting 4 days a week on Monday. We are looking district wide to not do the daily temperature checks of students as they enter the building. We'll be honest with you, since the colder weather and cooler temperatures, the data we're getting from these temperature checks is not reliable. And I'll speak in terms of the middle school. A lot of students that have, that end up having a positive COVID test never even had a temperature, at school. Okay. So that is slowing down students getting into the building, and it requires quite a bit of staff at all of our buildings to utilize at the doorways. So we can now utilize that staff throughout the building, to help, students as they're making their way to class. So we are going to look to add that to our biweekly student affidavit, all right, and rely on our parents and guardians to do this temperature check at home before their child comes to school or gets on the school bus. Okay. So Mr. Daniels and I wanted to just show you what our current class sizes are. This is not band, chorus, and PE. That will be on the next slide. So I'll just speak to the middle school and he can speak to the high school. So our current classes range between 4 students and 13 students. And then those are our numbers currently for remote students per grade level. All right. Our remote students have a separate class throughout the day that they follow. Each teacher has a remote period of instruction. All right. We'll maintain that, even moving to 4 days of live instruction. And those would be what our projected class sizes would be. Okay. 16 to 20 on 6th grade, 17 to 23 in 7th grade, and 16 to 23 in 8th grade. And as you can see, this is based off of our community survey that the district put out. Our remote student numbers, did decrease.
Okay, as far as the high school goes, as you can see, we currently have 5 to 12 students in most classrooms. Kids are certainly faced more than or 6 feet or more apart in the classrooms. And that's grades 9 through 12. With an average of 21 students per classroom. I actually went with Mr. Sylvanik and classroom teachers and remeasured classrooms. I can get 15 to 16 seats, desks 6 feet apart in most of the high school classrooms. Therefore, in a typical high school classroom of 20 to 21 students, 14 possibly to 16 kids in class in person, and then the 6 kids or so remote. So for most of the classrooms, we're going to be able to get by without the shields. There are going to be some classrooms where that's just not going to be possible. Science rooms, for example, would be one of the areas where, because the tables are fixed, there's no way to spread kids out very well. So those are rooms we're going to have to put shields in. And there are a couple of other rooms like that where we may have a couple of shields closer to the teacher's desk, but still have the rest of the students 6 feet apart. So we should be in pretty good shape, really minimizing the number of shields and having 15, 16 kids in each classroom.
So this next slide, we wanted to break down band, chorus, and PE for both buildings. Okay, so those are our current sizes for our classes. And right now, all of our band and high school chorus students use the auditorium for class so they can spread out and get that 12 feet of space. And the middle school chorus is in our chorus room currently because our chorus room can hold 14 students at 12 feet apart. And our classes are under 14, with our A-B schedule, okay? Moving to, the 4-day model, obviously our numbers will pretty much double in each one of those sections. And then these are our largest classes, okay? So our middle school chorus will have to relocate out of our chorus classroom. And we've already worked, Mr. Daniels and I together, and there is one of our rooms in the STEAM Academy that we can utilize so that we can still have chorus as we do currently, okay? And then once the weather gets nicer, we can go outside. Some of those classes will move outdoors as well.
As you can see, the high school band and chorus are already in the band room auditorium, so there's really adequate space there to spread kids out pretty well in the auditorium. Physical education, gymnasium's a fairly large area. Certainly, hopefully the weather will be nice enough to get kids outside soon. And, we can take advantage of the athletic fields and have many of the physical education classes outside anyway. So we're in pretty good shape on that aspect in the high school.
Yep. Yeah, I'll just add, as Mr. Daniel said, the only issue I think we would have with PE is when it is, poor weather and we cannot get outdoors. That will limit some of the activities that we would be able to do with students, or it would have to be kind of a rotating basis, small groups and other groups sit on the side and watch her in the hallway so that there's that 12 feet of space, okay? So some things that will stay the same at our buildings. So full remote periods at the middle school will still be offered as they currently are. So if you are a current remote student, all right, and you stay a remote student, your schedule will not change, okay? At the high school, remote learning will still be offered as it is now with a blended, model. Our school bell schedules will remain the same. We'll still have our 6-day cycle. We still have free breakfast and lunch for all of our students daily. And Wednesdays are still a full remote day for all students district-wide, okay? some changes that will occur at the middle school. All right. We really don't want to do this, and we're going to, make every effort to not. However, there is the possibility that we might have to change some of our current hybrid student schedules just to make sure that some classes don't get too large. Okay, because right now, some of our 7th grade classes are 22 students, and we do have a number of remote students that would like to return, and we cannot obviously get those classes much bigger than 22, 23. Okay. Band, chorus, PE, and FACS, they may have to alternate activities. I think we've worked out a solution to chorus and band, so that will be good. But technology with, using our equipment, we may have to rotate groups of students because we can't have enough space where students are using, our power tools, et cetera. Full remote students will Zoom for instruction 4 days a week, just like our live students would come to school 4 days a week. So I just want everybody to understand that that is a change in our AB model. Okay. And some classes in the middle school will be blended. What I mean by that is we have students live sitting at desks and students at home. And these are the classes that will be affected by that because we only offer, these 1 period a day. Okay. Some of our sections here are French and Spanish. So why is that different? Not only for students, but that's also different for our staff because they haven't been required to do that this year. Okay. And as I indicated on the COVID slide with the new measurements of 0 to just under 6 feet, then 6 to 12 feet, students will be closer than 6 feet with our desks at this point. So, there will likely be more students that have to quarantine if there's a positive case in the classroom. Okay.
In the high school, we're just going to need time to determine exactly how many barriers. I know what I need for seniors right now. We've established a timeline for seniors. We have surveyed the students in grades 9 to 11, but those surveys are coming in tomorrow. So that'll give me a better chance to determine exactly how many shields I will need throughout the building. But our goal again will still be to maintain the 6 feet spacing and when necessary, have students Zooming from another classroom in order to provide instruction. We'll get into that in a little while, I believe.
All right, so we just wanted to touch on the cafeteria. Again, we have to maintain it, that 6 feet of distance because students have their masks down while they're eating. So in the middle school, we can fit approximately 70 students in our student activity area. That requires some desks to be along our exterior walls in the student activity area. And then some students will have to eat in our library where we can fit 17 to 20 students. And then an empty computer lab can fit 12 more students. So we are able to fit, our classes in those locations. And hopefully it gets, warm like it was today on a consistent basis sooner than later. And we'd be able to sit 11 students at our outdoor eating space. And our plan is on a sunny day is to move more desks outside in the grass and let as many kids go outside and eat as we can.
As far as the high school goes, if you've seen the high school, you'll see in the cafeteria, there's tables that kind of line the walls there as kind of as a barrier. Kids are comfortable with the spacing component as far as that goes now. So we're going to remove those and put more desks in the cafeteria. We're going to need a neighborhood of maybe 110 desks in there. We currently have about 75. There's adequate spacing for us, we believe, to get all the desks we're going to need in there. Weather gets nice, seniors will go outside anyway and enjoy lunch outside. So we believe we're going to be in pretty good shape in high school cafeteria.
And some transportation information. Again, some of this is same information from a couple weeks ago. The only thing that we wanted to highlight is, we do a staggered dismissal. And right now we call groups of students or buses, then walkers or drivers or parent pickup about every minute. And that creates a nice flow and space between our students. But we may have to lengthen that out a little bit just because, we'll have more students in the building, dismissing at a particular time. So we just wanted to be transparent here that our end of the day dismissal may be a little bit more extended than it currently is. Okay. So if you guys, the Board of Education, approves to move forward with this plan, we know at the last meeting, we talked about monitoring, once we start at CFE and taking some data there and then looking at after spring break. However, We still want to monitor CFE starting on Monday for a 2-week period. And if everything goes well, which we're hopeful that it will, and we think that it will, we would like to return our 6th graders and our 12th graders first on March 29th. I'll speak to why, the 6th grade separate from grades 7 and 8. The reason, the justification for that is our 6th graders, this is a whole new world to them, changing classes. And yes, some of them have been here in the building all school year as A and B students, but they've never been here as a group together, okay, with our staff. So I think it would be fair to those students to allow them here as a large group first, get more comfortable in the building with our staff, more students in the building at a time. It's also our smallest grade level in the middle school. So I think, that will give us a 2-week period. And I know it looks like a longer period here with April 19th for the rest of the grades, but that's because we have spring break built into there too. Okay, but that will give us a 2-week window of students in the building to really get some solid data to make sure that this is a good plan to move forward with more students. Okay, because as we know, once we bring them, in, we're not bringing them out, right? Or we don't want to bring them out. We want to keep them here. So we want to make sure that we can safely do it as we continue to move forward with this plan. Okay.
Yeah, and I want to bring seniors in as soon as we possibly can, but I'm a little more comfortable with a couple more weeks just to make sure that we keep the decreasing COVID problem decreasing as it is. So, we're going to give seniors as much as seniors as we possibly can, and then in April start bringing back. In April, bring back 8 through 11 basically at the same time. I think that gives us plenty of planning time to know exactly how many desks, how many shields, how many barriers. But again, the goal is still going to be 6 foot spacing in the high school.
Yeah. Now with this said, we have to, if we're able to do March 29th for grade 6 and 12, we just have to make sure that we're able to get the barriers in that time frame here. And we would ask families by March 17th. So that's actually next Wednesday to let us know if there's going to be any change to the survey data. We do have, a handful of families that chose 4 days a week, but they also chose in that survey September start. We have all that information, so we're going to personally reach out to those families just to make sure there's no confusion, all right, and make sure that that's still the choice that they want to make, to start March 29th or April 19th, okay? And then if we do have to change any student schedules, our school counselor, will reach out to that family and make sure that student is all set and comfortable with his or her new schedule, okay?
And as I said already, we're in the process of collecting surveys as of tomorrow. Should be the final for the 9 through 11 students. So we should have plenty of time to have things in place for that group of kids.
And our last slide is, I know this was discussed, I believe the last board meeting about extracurricular activities. So this is a current list right now of some extracurriculars that we would like to bring back. And I think maybe, over the next month, we might see a little, a couple more that we'll put in for approval. Okay. We just want to let everybody know that if meetings are held, so students that are coming to the building from 2:30 to 3, in order for that student to stay, at least in the middle school, for that meeting, they have to be able to have their own transportation or be a walker because we have no remedial buses. Okay. All right. That's all we have to present to you guys tonight. So at this point, we wanted to open up for any questions.
Thank you, Mr. Rill and Mr. Daniels.
We received the barriers for the elementary school that were ordered.
Yes, Ms. Lockwood, we received them and they started going up today. I believe first kindergarten, I think Mrs. Kaczynski, and you can speak if you want, Ms. Kaczynski, I think 2nd grade was in the progress of being done today, but we have received them all and we should be good to go on March 15th in elementary school.
Are they secured to the desks or do they just rest on the desks?
They have suction cups, but on the suction cups, the custodial staff put double-sided sticky tape to make sure they don't get knocked over off the desk. Apparently a neighboring school district had some issues with the suction cups and getting knocked off the desk. So we went an extra step further with a double-sided sticky tape.
Okay. And we're ordering for the middle school, high school from the same place, or are we ordering different barriers for the middle school, high school?
Right now, the plan is to order the same barriers.
Dave, Andrew, I want to thank you. It was a great plan. And everybody else that had put in the effort for that plan, was really good. My only question is, I personally, I don't know about the rest of the board, but I think 7 through 11 should come back on the 12th instead of the 19th. Plus, it gives you that, spring break where custodial staff can set up the desks and everything and have it ready while there's no kids in school, instead of trying to do that week when you're going to have some kids, the hybrid kids there and so on. And honestly, I get maybe because you want to do it because it's the start of the fourth quarter, but me personally, I'd rather get these kids back ASAP. So, I mean, me personally, I don't know the rest of the board, I would push for April 12th instead of the 19th.
Drew,
I'm sorry.
All right, go ahead. Go ahead, Spiros.
And I don't know if anyone can answer this. I know in the paper, I think like a week or so ago, it was a Syracuse paper. The Onondaga Health Department signed off on the 3-foot thing in the Syracuse area schools. I know Dr. Peck, you said you were going to have a conversation with our health department. What is going on with that? I mean, if they're doing it, basically, if they're changing the rules for them in Syracuse, why isn't our health department doing that?
Every Monday and Wednesday, we meet as superintendents with the Department of Health and Jason Gardner. And it has come up multiple times. And that's a decision that our Broome County Department of Health can make. And they have just not made that decision yet to go to the 3 feet. But that's definitely a county to county decision. Onondaga. Actually, I live in Onondaga County. I emailed it to Al Bike. He emailed it to, or texted it to Jason Gardner. And we have discussed in our meetings. But again, at this point in time, Broome County is holding to their 6 feet.
But, okay, so basically they realize all the districts are not, I don't want to say not paying attention, but we're breaking the 6 feet. And they realize that, but they don't want to sign off on it. I mean, that's pretty much what's going on.
Correct. They're sticking to the 6 feet. It's really, and Mr. Real said it a minute ago in his slide, we have 3 things we're looking at, and it gets confusing. We're looking at the CDC, we're looking at the DOH, we're looking at New York State. And they don't always come into line with one another at the same time.
Okay.
Confusing. I know it's confusing for us sometimes. It's got to be confusing for the community and the parents and the school board. But again, they don't always line up. And then the DOHs vary from county to county, which makes it even more difficult.
The other thing too with that Onondaga County, I believe, even though they decreased it to 3 feet, they still did require barriers.
And masks.
Yeah, and masks. So.
Yep.
Can I just speak to Mr. Vaver's request about April 12th? Just a couple concerns. I do think it could be manageable, but I am a little apprehensive for right after break because, the week before spring break is 4 days. I just need to make sure, I think Mr. Daniels and I, that the buildings are set up. I can't guarantee you what staff will be here, for spring break because they're allowed to use vacation time as it is a break. And I'm just worried that could add a lot of stress to some of our staff members where, there's a break and then, we have hundreds of students coming into the building that, haven't been here. So I would just like that to be taken into consideration for our staff. Okay.
Drew, I had a question about the remote learning in the middle school. I guess, so it's going to 4 days a week. Are they going to be only remote students together learning, or are they going to is it going to be they're teaching in the classroom and the remote students are listening in?
Yeah, so based off of our district plan over the summer, we did a lot of work on our master schedule to give equity to our remote students, and our hybrid students. So we gave every staff member remote sections where they're only giving their focus to our remote students. Okay, so we still have those sections built into our master schedule. It would be really difficult to change that at this point. So yeah, our remote students will still have their 9-period schedule, only remote students with their teachers 100% attention.
Okay.
Yeah, but right now they Zoom A/B groups just like our hybrid students. So everybody gets the same amount of attention from their teachers.
So the teachers will have an extra Zoom a day, or how? I guess I don't understand how that's working.
So it's one of their 5 periods a day, or some of our staff members have 6. So Lynn, if you were a math teacher and you had 5 periods of live instruction, built the master schedule where all of the remote students in, say, grade 8 were put into one of your 5 periods. So now you only have Zoom here. These 4 are only live students. So you're giving your 100% focus to the kids that are in front of you.
Okay, all right.
Okay. But
Yeah.
some of our singlet classes, like I had on that slide, like algebra is 1 period a day. We broke it. A kids were live. The kids who were choosing to come to school, B kids were our full remote students. They're now going to be combined into 4 days. That classroom has to have a blend. Our French has to be blended just because of, we only have so many sections. So some of our classes do have to be blended now.
Okay, thanks. That clears that up.
Yep.
All right, I got a question, and it's kind of hard. I know it's probably hard because of HIPAA rules and stuff, but do we know of any staff that is like, that wants to be vaccinated, that is still waiting? And then all of a sudden, they're in a room and we're breaking the 6-foot thing. And if we did have somebody that comes forward, would we be able to accommodate somehow?
Yeah, we don't have that list, Spiros. I've sent out, I get alerts from the DOH when shots become available. And I've been sending those out to the staff ASAP. And I know Dave Daniels had just, and I'll let you talk about it a little bit, Dave. We have some more COVID shots that we made available to the staff. Dave, you want to talk about those?
Yeah, I got a call yesterday afternoon, pretty much after most people left the building, from Walgreens, and they're willing to provide shots for our staff, K-12 kitchen, cafeteria, whatever, next Wednesday during the day. Wednesdays, teachers may lose out of some office hours or something and make up office hours with students in another fashion, but and work with remote learners is another option. But but cafeteria workers, others people who are working in the district, though, we're in a process. We've made that opportunity for people, so we're trying right now to find out how many people there are, so we can get that information out to everybody and get back to Walgreens. So how many shots that we're going to be looking for. But they contacted us. We're in the process of trying to put it in place for anybody on the school staff who needs a shot.
Okay, so basically, it looks like before all the kids come back and we break the 6-foot rule, hopefully anyone who wants a vaccination would be available to them.
They should have that option.
Okay, thank you.
Right. And Spiros, it's not breaking the 6-foot rule. The guidelines actually say 6-foot/3 foot with barriers. We're not going against anything. We're just not doing the 6 feet. But it's very clear, 6 feet/3 feet with barriers.
Now, just so we know, though, the staff that were take advantage of that on, you said March 17th, Mr. Daniels, right? That would only be shot 1. So they truly wouldn't be fully vaccinated before our students were back, because there's that window a couple weeks in between shot 2, and then you need 2 weeks after your second shot for, they say, full immunity.
And these are the Pfizer shots, though, which is the 3-week timeline as opposed to Moderna 4-week.
Any other questions for Mr. Rullo, Mr. Daniels, myself? Okay, thank you, Mr. Rullo, Mr. Daniels. That wraps up the superintendent's report. Over to Mrs. O'Brien for the board report.
Thank you. Mine shouldn't take too long. The first one I have is emails. I know we've talked about this in the past, how we want to address emails we receive from the community. Since the last meeting, we received 3. One was a praise for the board, and 2 were suggestions. One was regarding starting esports, and the other was a student email requesting for the superintendent's conference day to be the day after Halloween. So what do we want to do when we receive these emails? Because I know individually, some, maybe all of us are responding.
Superintendent should really respond to emails. And if it's something that the board needs to respond to, we need to discuss it before we can really respond, because we're, as a board member, all our power comes from being a board together. Individual people comment, and the problem is when you answer an email individually, it sounds like you're speaking for the entire board, and you're not. I mean, you may be speaking exactly what the rest of the board is going to say, but without speaking to the board and getting everyone on board with everyone on the same page. You know, if Mike responds to an email about sports and Amy, you have a 180-degree opinion, that person may think that, okay, this is what the board thinks, and that's just Mike's opinion. So, I mean, really, board emails, if it's something pressing, the superintendent, and again, this is how we've, up until the last couple of years, that's how it was always done. The superintendent responded, but if it was something that the whole board had to talk about at the next meeting, we talked about it. We would someone would either volunteer or get assigned to respond to it if it was a board member, or we would tell the superintendent to respond to it. But I mean, I don't see how you get away with, I don't think that's the wrong word, how you could respond individually without it looking like you have the weight of the entire board behind you. Even if you put a disclaimer on that, that's the way it comes across.
Discuss them here. Can we, at each board meeting, discuss the emails that came in?
Well, then I don't know. I mean, would that be a privacy issue? I mean, I don't know if we would have to ask the attorney on that, or put some sort of disclaimer on the website saying that, you know, some people might be sending an email and not want it to be public.
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, like this one about the request for the calendar day. I mean, we don't have to say who requested it or anything like that, but we're going to approve the calendar tonight. So should we discuss it as a board now?
I think you could, as long as you didn't bring up who, in my opinion, again, it's difficult, but I think as long as you don't bring up any specifics that would identify the person. I mean, Joe, I don't know if Nate's still on. What is your thoughts?
I don't know if Nate is still on. Nate, if you're still on, could you raise your hand, please? There he is. There's Nate.
Yeah, I mean, anything that is emailed to a Board of Education member, I think would actually be subject to FOIL and would be disclosable. A member of the public who emails anybody in the district can't request anonymity, I believe. You know, it's a public communication. Anything that they put in that email, I think could be certainly discussed at the board meeting, and the person could be identified. Now, I'll caveat that with, I'd love to see what the email says. And if there's something in it that maybe shouldn't be disclosed, then maybe you can reconsider that. But broadly speaking, I think there is that assumption that if they're emailing an individual board member anything, that's an email to the full board. The full board should know, and then that would also be subject to FOIL. So however you want to do it. I mean, if the board receives emails, that's board correspondence. If the board member feels that it's something that should be brought to the attention of the full board, bring it to the attention of the full board in open session. If you think that an executive session is appropriate to discuss that particular matter, ask for an executive session about it.
So how I've handled the ones that have come through was to acknowledge the email and direct them to the superintendent. Or simply, if it was just a matter of a statement email, thanking them for the email. So I think that's a very safe way to go. However, perhaps at each meeting, we just do a very generalized acknowledgement that we have received them. I'm just trying to think, you know, if I'm that community member taking the time to send an email of concern or whatever, I want to know that it at least reached my intended.
So do we identify the person? And I'm not,
I think so,
do we
Sarah.
identify them or not? I don't know.
So. I don't think we do. Because, you know, that might make someone uncomfortable, and I don't feel like that's necessary. Like, for example, the emails that came in today, I said that, you know, one was a calendar change. One is for an esports, you know, just generalizing out to make sure they know we've seen them.
I'm good with that idea, Amy. I think having, if you want to put it a separate section to go over the emails in public, obviously if there's a sensitive topic, we keep it for executive.
Yep.
I like the idea of not identifying the person
Agreed.
because I don't want to stifle somebody from sending an email because they don't want their name on something.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, obviously they have to put their name on it to send it to us because we're not going to take something anonymous. But, if we just don't out them in public on their opinion.
Yeah.
I like that.
Do we have a policy on board emails? Is there a policy out there?
I don't think so.
Should we create one?
We kind of are. We just got to formalize this.
Maybe just a procedure rather than a policy. You know what I mean?
I agree. I think it's a procedural thing, but I think part of the confusion is some of those are sent to just the board. Some of them are sent to Dr. Peck and the board. And so that also plays a part in who answers and what we say.
Mm-hmm.
I know, Mary, if anything is sent to me, I always answer it and I always hit reply all.
Yes, but I think when people write, they're writing to just the board and not including you. So that's why I think the confusion gets in there because you're not aware of it and who responds to those from the board. That's kind of the issue. There's one of you and 5 of us. So who responds? That's why we need a procedure, not a policy necessarily.
So these particular communications go to just the school board. So perhaps the procedure we come up with is, one person replies, just a general, your message has been received, and that we, I don't know where that should take place, but we should give them the time, at least to have a conversation together. And I know not everything can happen in open session, but people are taking time to send concerns and we're not really doing much with it.
Amy, I think we just do it during your board report here. This is the perfect time to answer these questions.
Okay. Then we will make that a regular part of the board report. The second thing I had was in-person meetings. I think, Mike, you were.
Hold on a second, Amy.
Go ahead.
So are we going to discuss this calendar thing before the calendar vote? Joe, were you aware of this email about wanting a superintendent's conference day the day after Halloween, which is a Monday, November 1st?
Yes, that was to the board and myself.
Okay. What are your thoughts on that?
The only problem you're going to run into, and we ran into this 2 years ago when we made a February break and we deviated from the BOCES calendar. If you deviate and you move a superintendent's conference day, it's not going to line up with the days of BOCES, and you're going to have kids with the same BOCES issue. And I personally learned my lesson 2 years ago when we moved the February break, and that's not something I want to revisit or recommit to. Very lovely student sent that in, very heartfelt email, very well thought out. I'm giving you the logistics of it. And the logistics is you will fall back into the same issue that we fell in a couple of years ago. And I know we disenfranchised a few parents and made them upset because it is different than the rest of the schools. And you're not going to have BOCES that day is not going to coincide with your district. So that's your downfall of moving superintendent's conference day. When we do the calendar, we do it as superintendents and we have the same superintendent's conference days. So BOCES can facilitate PD on those days as well. So maybe if we did it that way, and I'm looking at Mike, you're a CV teacher, obviously. I'm sorry, an SV teacher. It's been a very long day, Mike. You're an SV teacher. And you're doing some sort of PD that day at SV, and we flipped the days, we can't send our people to that PD at SV. So that's what you run into. I mean, again, it was a very well-written email and very well thought out and very well rationalized, but that's the pitfall. I don't like to make, obstacles. I like to find solutions, but that's the biggest obstacle is if that happens, then we're going to fall out of line with BOCES. And I still got a few scars from line a couple years ago that I don't really want revisited.
That's exactly what I was gonna say. Like, as a teacher, I love that idea. It was a great email. I'm all for it as a teacher, day after Halloween, especially elementary teachers. Man, they would love that. But again, we, like you said, 2 years ago when we switched that February break, you know, a lot of people were kind of upset about that. So as a teacher, it'd be great, but I think it's too hard to do with the BOCES calendar being set like that.
Yeah,
I agree.
I just think, you know, that the public made themselves heard very loudly when we changed the February break, and it's definitely not a road I want to travel back down. And if the board says they do, then that's the board decision. You vote on the calendar, but that's where I stand on it.
Okay. So the esports one, is that something we can look into? Is that what?
To start a club, Ms. Lockwood, there's really a lot of steps. And the first,
Well, we have a game club already. Is this something that could be incorporated into the game club we already have?
I would have to talk to Mr. Sanseverino about that.
Can we do that just to ask him if he's heard of it, if he'd be interested in sponsoring that?
I can have Mr. Daniels do that. That's the club that's ran through the high school, and Mr. Sanseverino runs it. So I'm sure Mr. Daniels would, I can brief him on exactly what the email said, and then I can have Mr. Daniels talk to Mr. Sanseverino. I don't think that's an issue.
Dave, you're muted.
Yep, I realize it, sorry. You need to understand though too, that the games club itself, it usually reaches a totally different group of kids. You know, when you
Okay.
talk about each sports, you talk about those are primarily the athletes that already got involved in lots of other things. The games club tends to hit a group of kids that are just looking for a good social niche and good activities like that. And not many of them, in my experience, our kids are all that engaged in athletics and sports. They're looking for different kinds of activities usually.
The other thing with an esport club, we would really have to look into, especially the new Ed Law 2D guidelines, and Nate's still on here, and Nate would definitely back me up, of what the Ed Law 2D guidelines under a esports club would look like. And I know Mrs. McMullen, my secretary and the district clerk, spends a lot of time, and the staff will attest to it, make sure, and the admin team will as well. They put a lot of work into it, making sure all of our applications are Ed Law 2D compliant. So that's something too you'd have to look at before you start a gamers club.
So do I have permission to contact the person that sent this and the person that they spoke to at another district where they have this and just get some more information about it?
I don't have the power to give you that. That would have to come from the board, Lynn.
Lynn, I'm fine with that.
I'm fine with it too, Lynn. There is a procedure though to do a club. I think Dr. Peck was starting on that and got sidetracked. I think there's a whole process to getting a new club.
There's usually an interested student, then that becomes a group of students. They usually find an advisor. That advisor writes up a proposition, a proposal to the board. Then it goes to the board for approval. And right now, all of our clubs are in the contract as stipends. You would have to do an MOA to add the club to the contract with a new stipend. So it's more than just starting up a club. There's actually a lot of complicated steps to it to follow our procedures. And then actually not our procedures, our policy is actually the way to bring a club to fruition. So there's a lot of steps in there of just, and again, you know, Mrs. O'Brien did forward me the email. It's a very well written email, and I appreciate that. I was not on the original email, but there's a lot of steps besides just an email to the board to start a club.
Correct. All right, thanks.
Okay, the second thing I have is regarding in-person meetings. Mike, I believe it was you that was kind of itching to get us back in person. Was that you?
Yeah.
Okay.
Like a few of us there.
Okay, so where do we stand? Are we looking next month to resume in person? What is everyone's plan? I just want to share my only concern is I'm all for doing what the board is comfortable with. However, if it excludes our community from being able to engage and listen, I would have a problem with that, just because when we've tried to do Zoom and in person before, it was really chaotic. So that would be my only concern for going to in-person meetings. So what is everybody's thoughts?
I'm all for starting next month, because if we're going to be sending all the kids back, I think it's going to look foolish if we continue to Zoom while we send students back in person. we've had, a month and a half here with athletic events being, streamed and stuff. I think we could find the technology where we can stream a board meeting. And even if, people at home can't make it in, if we have to, limit the capacity, use the auditorium, whatever, if people still can't make it in and they want to ask questions, I think we can figure out a way where, during the meeting, if we have a public comment, people that aren't in the audience can somehow get in there. But I think, our experience that the athletic department has done with streaming athletic events, it's been great. I think we can easily do that with board meetings.
We should be able to, under current guidelines, I'm looking right now, we have 85 participants, and we have that probably basically mostly because we had the middle school, high school presentation day. I'm bringing students back 4 days a week. But if we went to the auditorium and we social distance at 6 feet apart in the auditorium, coming into their 150 person, I believe that's what the governor currently has, is 150 people. I think we would have absolutely no problem putting the school board down in the pit area or up on stage with microphones, broadcasting out to the audience. And again, keeping them 6 feet apart, socially distanced. You can easily fit our normal board meeting in there. If you go back before we started doing Zoom meetings, our normal board meeting was probably 7 or 8 people. And that was a jam-packed board meeting. Most of our board meetings had 2 or 3 people. Some I've seen actually none there.
None.
So I don't think we can look at the Zoom numbers. It's very easy to log on to Zoom, eat your dinner, walk around your kitchen, walk around your living room, listen to the board meeting. But if we go back, it's going to be too hard to broadcast these live. And then at what point do you stop broadcasting them live?
I don't think we should ever stop broadcasting them live. I think we should broadcast them live all the time. I think it's great that all these people are listening in, even if they're doing other stuff.
But are you saying
we're
broadcast
broadcasting sports? Why is it
two-way?
going to be so much harder to broadcast a board meeting?
I can definitely talk to Jamie Payne. I'm going to do what the board directs me to do. I was just trying to simply explain the logistics of going back and having it in person in the auditorium. I think we meet all the regulations to do so. If it's the board decision to continue to broadcast live during, the rest of the school year, and hopefully, the pandemic ends sometimes or comes to a slow halt, then
I just need clarification. When we're saying broadcast, we mean broadcast, or are we talking like Zoom where people could like ask questions in? Because that was the issue when we tried it, like kind of that in person with Zoom before. I mean, I have no problem broadcasting and putting the meeting up on YouTube for people to go back and watch it later. That's great. But when people are calling in, when we were in person, that was ugly.
Right. I agree with you there. I'm just saying, like, I think it needs to be available to the public. I think not everyone would be comfortable coming to the auditorium, even if we were socially distanced,
Right.
And I'd hate to take that away from them now that they've been able to participate. I think I mean, as a parent, when my kids were in elementary school, I was always like, I should really go to these board meetings, but I never had the time. And now that, everyone's here and they can listen in or they can watch it later, I think it's great that they can see what's going on and be more involved in what's going on with the school. So I would hate to see that taken away. So if we can just live stream it and they can sit and watch. And if they have a question, either they need to email us ahead of time or come to the meeting in person to ask.
I think we should start the meetings.
Go ahead, Mary.
Go ahead, Mary.
I was going to say, I think we should jump into the meetings back at school as soon as we can, at least there in the auditorium. So anyone that wants to come can come. Notifying us ahead of time is tough because you don't know if you have a question or concern till the meeting comes. I don't think we can count on numbers, but I think at least it makes it available to everybody. And we can look into the other part of it to be able to broadcast it to whom. But I do think we should get back to in person.
Now, should we wait one more month so that anyone traveling over spring break can quarantine?
You mean board members traveling?
Yeah.
I'm not traveling. Is anyone traveling?
Mm-mm.
Are you traveling?
Yeah.
When's our next board meeting?
Wait, when are you traveling? Because they're dropping the quarantine. I just read this, like April 1st.
Yeah, Cuomo, you can go anywhere now.
You
No
can?
quarantine.
Okay.
As of April 1.
Okay.
Yeah.
As long as you don't show symptoms, you're all good.
Only if you're vaccinated though, correct? It's only if you're vaccinated.
Oh, is it?
I think it's everybody. It's just,
thought it was
I think it's
everybody.
only said if you were showing symptoms, you need to quarantine. Or maybe I read it wrong, but
No, it's only if you're vaccinated within 90 days. So if you're not, and so if we have teachers traveling on April break and they're not vaccinated, they're going to have to quarantine that week. It's Mike. I've read it. I've read it more times.
I know, it's that lawyer language there. You got to read it like 100 times before you fully understand it.
It's anyone traveling that's had both quarantine shots 15 days out within 90 days.
Is this is what came out 4 hours ago, right? Is that what you're talking about?
Not 4 hours ago. This came out yesterday, last night.
All right. This says, I'm looking, this is on Channel 4, New York. It says, as of April 1, Governor Cuomo, blah, 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 isolation requirement for travelers will be dropped. The mandate will end. It doesn't say anything about vaccine. It just says if you have COVID symptoms. Yeah, I mean, I just read this before the meeting.
I'm looking right on the New York State website here, Governor Cuomo's thing, his executive order. And I don't know, it doesn't really say anything about you have to be fully vaccinated.
Hold on. I'm reading. So yesterday this came out.
All right, this says the updated announcement Thursday doesn't mention a vaccine requirement.
This is today's announcement. I think he updated it.
Yeah, it updated 4 hours ago.
Yeah, I think he updated it to basically say, it says quarantine for domestic travel no longer required starting April 1st.
What's the date on that?
March 11th, today.
Drew, Catherine, you guys are always on this with me. Have you seen that? Trish?
This is right on his website, Cuomo.
I'm looking at the website as everyone's talking. The thing for us is we have to still wait for the DOH official document. So the shot one with if you're vaccinated and you no longer have to quarantine, I mean, that was announced over a week and a half ago. We just got it last night from the DOH. The other one about quarantining or no longer having to quarantine if you're vaccinated and you're around a positive case, that was back in the beginning of February. We just got that, in the DOH document. So
I can read you the one from last night, and this is from Cuomo. Are fully vaccinated, i.e. 2 weeks following receipt of second dose in a 2-dose series, 2 weeks following receipt of 1 dose of a single dose vaccine, and are within 3 months following receipt of last dose in the series, and have remained asymptomatic since the last COVID-19 exposure. That was last night.
Yeah, this is new. This is new today, like Spiro said about 4 hours ago.
Well, why don't we do this? Why don't, it's obviously if this is not dropped and Amy can't be here because she needs to quarantine, then we will do it remote. If it is dropped and she does not need to quarantine, we can do it in person. I mean, we're going to have time to announce it on the website, what we're doing well before the meeting. We're still a month out.
Yeah.
Because things are changing every day.
Spiros, can you send me that? Because I'd love to see that.
Yeah, I will.
Because I'm working with the union and the teachers and the admin team, and I'm working off what came out last night, and you're telling me you got something 4 hours ago.
Yep.
Yeah, it just came out really, kind of after some stuff happened today. So
yeah, I just and again, I think Catherine, Dave, and Drew were going to agree with me. And Trish, I thought we were up to date after it came out last night. We spent the day reading it and talking about and
Joe, every time there's a new scandal, we get more of our freedoms back. I mean, didn't you know that?
Again,
this just came out, Joe. So I just sent it to you there, the article. It's right from his website.
All right. Again, this is dated March 10th. So let's see what you got.
I just assumed I had to because I'm crossing state lines, but I'm camping with the members of my household. So I'm not going on a plane or anything else or a hotel. But we'll find out what's the proper protocol and then we'll decide.
Yeah, we can wait. Like I said, we'll plan to do in person. And if we need to change, we can.
Yeah, okay. All right, very good. So to be determined. And then finally, Erin was just going to speak on the protocol for those wishing to run for the board seat.
Yep, there's a lot of information on our webpage right now under Board of Education. Anybody is able to sign up for the training or go to the links for NYSBA to find out if they might be interested in becoming a board member. If you think you might be, just contact me either by phone or email. I can answer most of your questions, and I have the packets in my office, and we can figure out how to get you a packet. That would be the petitions for the signatures that you'll need, along with other information, expenditure forms and whatnot. So if you want to take a look at it, and then if it's something you think you might even be interested in, just contact me and I'll make sure you get a packet.
Thank you, Erin. Okay, moving on. Upon recommendation of the superintendent, a motion to approve 5.1 through 5.3. We have a motion, please.
Motion.
Thank you, Mike.
Second.
Thank you, Spiros. Roll call.
Amy O'Brien.
Aye.
Spiros Tomatoes.
Aye.
Mary Collins.
Aye.
Michael Vavra.
Aye.
And Lynn Lockwood.
Aye.
Motion passed. Upon recommendation of the superintendent, a motion to approve 6.1 through 6.10. We have a motion.
Motion.
Thank you, Spiros.
Second.
Nope.
Lynn, discussion?
I have an issue on, well, I have a question on 6.7 and 6.8.
Okay.
Dr. Peck, 6.7, has this changed since the last time it was sent? And are you comfortable with it now? I know we were holding off waiting to see what our budget was coming in on.
Yeah, like Mark said, we're right now, I think we're at 283 in the red. We're going to make that up this year very easily. We're still in our spending freeze. I have, and we can go over this in executive, I have 300,000 worth of cuts without touching any personnel, just touching equipment and things like that. So that this contract it is good. It's for both SROs. And again, you know, they do an awesome job for our district. This school board hired both of them in KST, and I'd hate to see it go away. So I am more than confident, and Nate's been through this contract as well. Nate, our attorney who's on right now. So I'm more than confident this is the contract that you saw last, and it's the right thing to do.
And on 6.8, my question is this the same attorney that was handling the Department of the Department of Education thing?
She's with BOCES, but this appoints BOCES Capital District, and then
So-
they appoint who they appoint.
I've got some issues, and I think I'd cross over into executive session material. So could
Okay,
we
so we
table
can-
this?
Yes.
Okay, so
Yep.
motion to table.
Okay.
Just 6.8, motion to table 6.8.
All right.
Second.
Discussion. Roll call.
Amy O'Brien.
Aye.
Spiros Tomatoes.
Aye.
Mary Collins.
Aye.
Michael Vavra.
Aye.
And Lynn Lockwood.
Aye.
Okay, motion to table 6.8 passed. All right. So, gosh, I don't remember how to do this. So motion to approve 6.1 through 6.7 and 6.9.
And
And
6.10. And
And
6.10.
6.10, I'm sorry, and 6.10, thank you.
Motion.
So second.
Okay, discussion. Roll call.
Amy O'Brien.
Aye.
Spiros Tomatoes.
Aye.
Mary Collins.
Aye.
Michael Vavra.
Aye.
And Lynn Lockwood.
Aye.
Motion passed. Seven point one and 7.2 are an FYI. Motion upon recommendation of the superintendent, a motion to approve 7.3 through 7.9.
Motion.
Second.
Second.
Thank you, Lynn. Discussion. Roll call.
Amy O'Brien,
Aye.
Spiros Tomatoes.
Aye.
Mary
Mary
Collins,
Aye.
Michael Vavra,
Aye.
and Lynn Lockwood.
Aye.
Motion passed. 8.1, upon the recommendation of the superintendent, a motion to approve the Board of Education minutes from the regular Board of Education meeting, February 10th, 2021, and the special Board of Education meeting, February 24th, 2021, as attached. May I have a motion, please?
Motion.
Second.
Thank you, Mike. Thank you, Spiros. Discussion. Roll call.
Amy O'Brien, Spiros Tomatoes.
Aye.
Mary Collins,
Aye.
Michael Vavra,
Aye.
and Lynn Lockwood.
Aye.
Motion passed. 9.1. A motion for.
Amy, before you do
Yeah.
9.1, I'm sorry to cut you off quickly.
Nope, you're fine.
We never voted on the middle school, high school plan. We voted on elementary plan. You have to vote on that. What we have to do with these is once the board votes, we have to take the PowerPoint we just went over, we did with Mrs. Kazafinski in elementary PowerPoint, and that becomes an addendum to our reentry reopening plan.
I thought we weren't voting tonight.
I never said that, Ms. Lockwood.
I mean, why do we need to wait to have another special meeting?
Yeah, if we don't vote tonight, we're gonna have to have another meeting.
Yeah.
And if we don't vote tonight, then we're not gonna be able to get the shields ordered in time either.
I thought we were waiting to see what happened with the elementary school. I mean, why can't we go ahead and order the shields and stuff like that anyway? But
Well, if you order the shields and we don't do it, you're gonna be on the hook for about 20 grand. There's no return on these shields.
Lynn, I think we can vote tonight, and if any negative thing happens, which I doubt it will, then we can always meet again before, they're supposed to come back and do it. But I don't think we need to postpone this and have a special meeting again next week.
And like Mr. Rillo said in the presentation he gave, we're still going to monitor the elementary school, and if things go totally sideways, we can have an emergency meeting if the board votes to okay the middle school, high school plan tonight, and we see that elementary just something, goes totally wrong. The board could always reconvene and revote to almost rescind their vote to approve the middle school, high school plan. But in my opinion, and again, it's a board decision to how to vote. If we don't vote tonight in the middle school, high school plan, it's really going to hinder Dave and Drew from going forward.
I guess I misunderstood what was going on. I thought last time we said we weren't voting, we were just presenting. And I mean, I'm all for opening the school back up. I just didn't think we were doing an official vote tonight.
Joe, would you actually need, let's say if everyone voted positively tonight and something did go sideways, would we need a special meeting? I mean, if there's an issue as superintendent, and if the principals and superintendent want to shut things down or slow walk things, could you write that into the resolution? Things can happen quickly.
I would have to ask Nate that question. Because this is going to become part of our reopening plan. Once we make it part of our reopening plan, that's why we have to add the PowerPoints to what we have already submitted to the state. So I don't think, and Nate, tell me if I'm wrong, I don't think as superintendent, I have the power to go against a board action to rescind the opening of the school. I know I can close down a building, I can close down a grade level depending on COVID and exposure. We've done that all school year, but I'm not sure I can go 100% against the reopening plan that the board approved. Nate, would you like to weigh in on that? You're still there?
Ordinarily, I think the board can delegate to the superintendent certain decisions like that, or give him authority if a certain contingency arises that prompts the need for an immediate decision. But I think, echoing Dr. Peck, though, I would say call a special meeting and amend it formally yourselves instead of passing that responsibility on to Dr. Peck. As he pointed out, this is a state filed plan. I think it would look a little funny if your state filed plan has a contingency in it like that, giving it authority to the superintendent. I think it's better practice for the board to approve it yourselves and have a special meeting later if you need to, or if your decision today was to wait, I mean, for whatever reason, then have a special meeting later to approve it if that's what's needed.
My only thought was with the break coming up, but again, Amy's going to be out of town. All of a sudden, the numbers go nuts, and you need to act. That was my thought behind it. But I guess we could special meeting via Zoom. Hopefully, your campground, Amy, has Wi-Fi.
I think we should, excuse me, I think we should vote on it tonight. And if we need a special meeting, it's important enough that we need to have it regardless.
I agree, Mary.
Okay.
So basically, we're voting to approve the PowerPoint presentation. That's the plan that's getting submitted to the state.
Upon recommendation of the superintendent, can I get a motion to approve the reopening plan for the 6 through 12 building that was presented by Mr. Rulo and Mr. Daniels? And Amy, you can just say that's what I just said.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Okay. Any other questions before we go ahead? Okay. Upon recommendation of the superintendent, a motion to accept the middle school, high school reentry plan.
Motion.
Second.
Thank you, Lynn. Thank you, Mary. Discussion. Roll call.
Amy O'Brien,
Aye.
Spiros Tomatoes,
Aye.
Mary Collins,
Aye.
Michael Vavra,
Aye.
and Lynn Lockwood.
Aye.
Motion passed. Nine point one, a motion for consideration of executive session to discuss employment history of a particular person or corporation or matters leading to the appointment, employment, promotion, demotion, discipline, suspension, dismissal, or removal of a particular person or corporation. Discussions involving proposed pending or current litigation. May I have a motion, please?
Motion.
Thank you, Mike.
Second.
Thank you, Spiros. Discussion. Roll call.
Amy
Aye.
O'Brien,
Aye.
Spiros Tomatoes,
Aye.
Mary Collins,
Aye.
Michael Vavra,
Aye.
and Lynn Lockwood.
Motion passed. We may be taking action when we come out. I don't know yet. So there's that possibility. And for those who don't stay, have a good night. See you next month.
You're muted, Amy.
We're just waiting for Mary. Is that right?
Not Mary yet either.
What's that?
I just said we don't have Mary yet.
Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Okay. There she is.
There's Mary.
There she is. Okay. All right, before we adjourn, I just want to let everyone know we are going to hold our April meeting via Zoom, and then we are going to resume in-person meetings in May. 10.1, a motion to adjourn the meeting.
Motion.
Thank you, Spiros.
Second.
Thank you, Mike. Discussion? Roll call.
Amy O'Brien,
Aye.
Spiros Tomatoes,
Aye.
Mary Collins,
You muted, Mary.
Aye.
Michael Vavra,
Aye.
and Lynn Lockwood.
Aye.
Motion passed. Have a good night, everyone.